Eskimo fans, are you ready?
Welcome to the Empire. It's the Eskimo Empire podcast.
Here's Mike Riley, takes the drop, waits and throws, and he's going deep downfield to Darius Bowman. Oh my goodness, what a catch by Darius Bowman. You won't see many better than that. Franklin to Zylstra, touchdown Eskimos. Pressure's coming. Oh, Levi Mitchell goes down. There's a big play for the defense. Somersaults for everybody.
Welcome back to the Turf District for episode 89 of the Eskimo Empire podcast. I am your host, Andrew. Thank you for downloading and having a listen. I do want to thank right off the top Kayla and Christina Litz from last week for joining us. And of course, a shout out to our brothers at Rouge Radio as they had me on last week to talk a little Eskimo football. But tonight we have got a fun show. You heard it right off the top. But we are going to cover some Esks news and of course the CFL news, and we are joined by an amazing guest, and I bet you know who that is after that intro. Let's first welcome back into the Turf District, Superfan Mike. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Very good, very good. So football is less than a week away, my friend.
Less than a week, and happy Podiversary.
Oh, thank you. Yes, yeah.
2 years ago today went live.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that it's been 2 years that we've been doing this. Yeah, and people still
want to listen, so hey.
Yeah, sure. It's great.
Give the people what they want.
Absolutely.
Or
now, you've
us.
had a busy week working on the grand prize for the By the Numbers.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun, just putting together a poster. We've got a bunch of other prizes that are going to go with it. So next week, we'll be drawing that based on everyone who entered. So if you entered all 10 rounds, you have 10 entries into the contest.
Awesome.
If you only entered one, you still have one entry. So anything's possible. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be doing a live draw on the Periscope next week. So
awesome. And we live in Edmonton, so we're really excited about the low chances of winning a lottery. You can still win it. Right?
That's right.
It's although I guess, are we past that now? Okay. All right. Well, that's
never.
That's all right. Everybody's got a chance. This is fantastic.
We don't have Taylor Hall in the pod district, Surf District, so we're good.
Nope. Probably not going to. Now, you also got to catch up with our good friend Connie Newfoundland from Calgary.
Great to see her as well.
She's fired up for the season.
She is one of a kind. For a lady that wears red, she's all right.
That's right. Yes, exactly. Did she bring you cookies?
No.
Wow.
Hold on a second.
That's right. Yeah. We'll have to see how that works out.
All right, Connie, you owe me. She will be here for the June 11th game.
Perfect. All right. Well, so then we expect cookies and a trip to the Turf District. All right. Let's get to our guest. You heard him, of course, off the top of the show, and he's returning this year for his 20th year as the Esks Stadium announcer, Mr. Al Stafford. Thank you for joining us and coming down to the Turf District.
Thank you for having me, guys. It's great to be here.
Thank you.
This is fantastic. Now, I can imagine being in there for 20 years. You've probably got a whole bunch of stories. And congrats, by the way, on 20 years.
Thank you.
And of course, you said we were talking off mic that it'll be your 200th game that you're going to call as the first regular season game this year.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't know if anybody else keeps track of that kind of thing, but I started counting a few years ago, and not many get to 200, so I'm glad they're giving me the chance to do it.
That's a huge milestone.
Oh,
so that's very awesome.
It's super exciting. Is there a game in that whole span that kind of really stands out for you, that it's like this was just amazing that I got to be in the stadium for this?
It's an odd job the way you watch football, because a lot of times I leave the stadium and I can tell you who won or lost, but I can't even tell you the final score.
Okay.
Because you focus differently on it than a fan normally would.
Well, you're focusing on it play by play.
Yeah. So it breaks down a little bit differently that way. And I kind of figured that question would come up. And I hate to say that, the only game that really jumps out at me every single time, it was when we lost to Winnipeg and Milt Stiegel scored that touchdown. Right?
Yes.
You guys remember that.
July 2006.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. That's the one that jumps out at me the most, because that was not a football game that the Eskimos should have lost. No. And none of us could believe what transpired for that play
Right.
to actually happen. So
Well, and for it to happen right at the end of the game, like you said, you focus on it play by play. That's the last play of the game. You're kind of, I know we all, we're all leaving the stadium like,
What the fire truck?
just happened. Like, this is, that's crazy. So I can see where that one would stand out for sure. Actually, just a question. Can you hear a lot of the crowd when you're in the booth?
no, the windows are closed, and that's probably a bad thing in the summertime and a good thing in the wintertime.
Yes.
Because I know that the television broadcast crew down the hall, they keep their windows open regardless of the weather.
Right.
And so they're in there with parkas and stuff like that. Well, that cold air certainly blows down the hall to where we're at, too. So it's a little chilly late in the season.
Right.
I would prefer to actually hear the crowd a little bit better than we can. But the audio guys tell me there's a problem with bounce back in that studio, and so they've never let me work with the window open, unfortunately. So I really have to rely on Eskimo fans to get supercharged in order for me to hear them because the glass is so thick.
Oh, well, I bet you the West final in 2015, that you probably heard it that night. Yeah, 'cause it was loud. Yeah, we talk about that game almost weekly on this podcast because that was just one of those games that it was the perfect storm. You had great fans, loud fans, a win, obviously, and full excitement. I mean, it was that's what we want more of, right?
Mm-hmm, no question.
Yeah, that one and the Labor Day rematch 2003. I mean, 62,444. That's a big crowd.
Be great to get back to that.
Absolutely.
I'd be happy getting over 40 right now.
That's we're shooting for that.
Yeah,
exactly.
So let's kind of go back in time a bit. We'd love to find out with people that come in, who introduced you to football and when did you start following the Esks?
Well, I was actually born in Toronto and I grew up in Burlington, Ontario. So the first team I think I paid any real attention to was the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Right.
And
Makes
I think they
sense.
won the Grey Cup back in '72. So that would have had a kind of an impression on me. But I had a toy football helmet when I was a kid, and I took some model car paint. And I still remember, and I had a big R on it in a '77, so obviously I was a fan of Tony Gabriel back in those days, right?
And he was a Tie-Cat in the early 70s. Too,
So I was more interested in the Eastern Conference teams, paid some attention to Saskatchewan a little bit when they were good back in the mid-'70s and what have you, and then didn't pay a whole lot of attention to CFL football until after college. When I moved out of Ontario and actually moved to Calgary, covered the Stampeders in '85, and then came up here as a reporter to cover the Eskimos for the first time in '86. And it's tough not to be a fan of the team that you're covering.
Absolutely.
So that's when the conversion took place.
Nice.
That was a good conversion.
Exactly.
That
You
was-
got better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the holy water was beer, and there was a ceremony.
In the name of Parker.
Yes,
Campbell,
exactly. Yeah.
We have talked about them being the football god and pope, so that's it makes sense. Yeah, exactly. Now, how did you end up in the PA announcer job 20 years ago?
I was doing it for the Oilers. I joined the Oilers in '96 as corporate announcer, and 2 years later, they had an opening for what is effectively now the job that Chris Sheets does.
Okay.
And it was basically corporate announcements at the time. John Sexsmith at Global Television was doing the job that I have now. And I took that. Dave Jameson was the one who hired me originally because I'd worked for Dave when I was over at Ched. Mm-hmm. And he knew, and he was the one actually who steered me towards the Oilers job because he was the one who told me about the audition for that one.
Oh, okay.
He hired me this time, thankfully, without an audition. And then the following year, John got the Supper Hour Sports gig at Global, and he couldn't commit to the full season of Eskimos, and so they moved me into that position.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very awesome.
That kind of worked out perfectly. Not that I don't like Sexsmith, but, it worked out great for us because, we love the intro.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, all the different things you've brought to the gig as well. I mean, you are the voice of the Eskimos to anyone that goes to the stadium game, right? So that's...
Yes, but as I said to you guys before we actually started all of this, everything's pretty much scripted, right? And
right.
There's not a whole lot of off-the-cuff stuff that I can do and get away with. And if you read... the CFL rules, because technically I'm actually an off-field CFL official. I'm not an Eskimo employee.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And so the CFL reimburses all of the teams who pay their announcers. That's actually how that works.
Okay.
And, of course, they send guidelines out at the start of the season, just reminding us of the do's and don'ts and stuff like that. And one of the things that it says in the guidelines is that we're supposed to be neutral.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
How does that happen?
Well, I don't know how it happens, but if you listen around the league, and I'm not mentioning any names, but the initials are Calgary Stampeders, you know that that's not true.
No.
So,
I lived in Victoria for 17 years. At the BC, definitely not neutral.
Yeah, you have to jack up the home side a little bit. And so we try to do it with a level of professionalism so that we're not trying to embarrass the other team, but it's got to be fun, too.
Well, although I've liked it a few times where you throw in the odd comment, like he stepped back and threw the ball to someone in the stands, or like when you throw in a little comment. I love that. Yeah. Like for me, I don't remember any specifics, but I know I'm sitting in the stadium and I laugh and I'm like, did you guys all hear what he just said? That was fantastic. Like it was a little perfect little shot without being that, and it's funny. Like it's I think
just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's I think it's okay if that happens every once in a while. I think if that became more of a regular shtick, I think somebody might have something to say about it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Within the Eskimos organization. So I try not to take advantage of the position, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. So you talked a bit about working in the booth and everything else. And what was the biggest adjustment for you working as that announcer versus other jobs you've had?
It's a different way to do PA announcing because of the information that you're trying to get across and the timing of it. Hockey, you can only talk after the whistle blows. So sometimes you go 6 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. I've done baseball as well, and basically you're just announcing the batter, and then you're doing an inning summary at the end, so you get into a rhythm pretty quickly with that, too. But with football, you never know what's coming on the next play.
Sure.
And I work with a spotter, always have, and between the two of us, typically I'll watch the offense and he'll watch the defense. Mm-hmm. And then he needs to come up with some information for me, and I need to come up with some information as well to sort of put the play together. And that was a period of adjustment because it has to get out within about 10 or 15 seconds because we can't talk after they break huddle.
Right. Of course. Yeah. Wow. That's so fast to have to get all that information and then say it properly.
Yeah.
Not to mention the names and the everything. I mean, we talked a bit earlier before we started, just the difference between what you do versus what a play-by-play announcer does, where they can just keep talking and talking.
Yes, and some of them do, don't they? Yeah. I've noticed that, too. No,
Jeez,
I've got to be
Dave.
short, sweet, to the point, just keep the information basic, which I think in the long run probably helps because you'll hear the TV guys, the radio guys talk themselves into a corner every now and again.
Right.
And I don't often find myself in that position because I've got to get up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
The no-huddle offense makes things a little bit more of a challenge, too, and the league allows us some leeway there when the team actually doesn't go into a huddle. But, it's, at the end of the day, what do the fans really want to know? They want to know who threw it, who caught it, who made the tackle.
Right.
And so
how far did it go?
Yeah, exactly, right? And as long as you can provide that information in a concise and entertaining way, and they keep letting me come back.
Well,
awesome.
I mean, we obviously love the venerable Brian Hall in here, but I mean, there's been so many times, especially living in Victoria when we didn't used to get all the games, just hearing some of the calls he would make, and you'd be like, what is going on in the field? Because I would have no idea. And then he'd talk about Ricky Ray throwing the ball left-handed, and then Farley would be like, I'm pretty sure that was Stefan LaForce. It was entertaining, but informationally
That's how you tell those two guys apart?
Yeah.
One was left-handed, one was right-handed?
You'd almost think the number would have helped too, right?
Okay. I'd never even thought about that before. He's a right-handed quarterback. I'm going to have to start using it.
Exactly. Yeah, I think they're both right-handers right now.
Yeah, he ties his left shoe first.
Okay.
Coming in on the 35-yard line.
Yes.
Oh, we're going to have there's going to be moments this season where I'm going to hear you throw something like that in, and I'm going to be buckled over in my seat. It'll be fantastic. Now, we started the show with the Are You Ready?
Yep. And
a lot of people know you for that, for that announcement at the beginning, I think. Now, you told us off mic that was actually scripted for you, but you got to kind of do your own fun with it. Do you remember when that started and kind of how that kind of went over?
I don't remember what year it started, but I do remember why it happened, and it happened because they had the boxing announcer, Michael Buffer.
Yeah.
And they had a recording of him saying let's get ready to rumble.
Right, yeah. And they used the 2 Unlimited song, too, right? The No Limits. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Well, that's copywritten.
Yes.
As
No
it
kidding.
turns out. Yes. So Michael's making lots and lots of money off of that. So,
Yes.
by the way, I have not copyrighted Are You Ready yet?
Work on that.
And not likely to. But,
okay.
but they needed to come up with something different. And all they wanted was something simple just to get the fans excited. So they put it in the script and they said, just pump it up.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, I don't know if, I don't think I was quite as enthusiastic about it then as I am now, but it seems like the fans get a charge out of it. And it helps to have the pyro, and occasionally we'll get a military flyby.
Of course.
And stuff like that. Yeah. So there's a lot going on at that time.
Oh, for sure.
It's fun to do.
Yeah, it's super exciting. Yeah.
So, do you have any favorite player that you've watched over the years, or any particular event that's happened at the games?
No, not event per se, because, like I say, you watch the play and it's done, and then you got to focus on the next one. And
right.
So after a while, you stop paying attention. I always liked Larry Ruck.
Nice.
Right?
Good pick.
And because he wasn't oversized as a linebacker, but it seemed like he left it all out on the field.
Yeah.
Right? And I always admired that because he turned himself into a professional football player, in my opinion. And Gizmo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
how do you not?
Every
Yeah.
time he touched the ball,
Yeah.
something exciting could happen, and he was a lot of fun to watch.
And you kind of came along at that perfect time when you started, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so. Then, how many times did you have to, refrain yourself from saying "rucked him, damn near killed him"? Like, how do you? It's so funny all the chants that everybody else does in the stands. But
Well, I don't think he was still playing when I started the job.
oh, okay. So then,
Right?
yeah. Well, I guess that's true,
I was
yeah.
a fan of his when I first came to Edmonton back in the 80s.
Right.
But I
Right.
think he was retired by the time I actually took over the announcing job.
right.
All right. Do you ever get to talk to the guys and jab at them a little bit afterwards, or not usually? Or?
No, I have no dressing room access, which is fine.
Yeah.
I've met some of them at other events over the years occasionally, and they treat me just like they would treat anybody else, pretty much. And so there's not a lot of insider stuff that goes on. I know Dwayne Mandrusiak probably better than any of the players that I've ever come across in my 30-odd years in the market or whatever, and Dwayne's a real good guy too, and obviously he's been doing a terrific job for them because he's been doing it since he was about 4.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Pretty close. It's only been, 46 years?
Only. I mean,
come on.
it's just a youngin'.
Rookie.
Exactly. Now, do you got any fun stories that happen in the booth? Have you ever had those moments where you're like, oh my goodness, everything is going haywire in the booth?
Well, some embarrassing ones. I mean, there's stuff that you wish you didn't say, or occasionally, because my spotter's giving me some numbers and I'm getting information from other places and I'm looking at stuff all at the same time, it doesn't always come out in the order that you want it to come out in.
Right.
But sometimes because you're so focused on getting the structure of the announcement out that somebody will say, oh no, it was blah, blah, blah. And they'll go, well, what did I say? You don't honestly remember what you actually said. So
right.
that can happen because you're focusing on something else at the time. A couple years ago, we had a player, Alonzo Lawrence.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I called him Alonzo Morning once.
Right.
And well, you can see why. Great
Yes.
basketball player,
Yes,
right? But
yeah.
My spotter for a season and a half would not let that go. Because we have a ritual where before the start of the game, we have to do the scratches
Of course,
for
yeah.
each team based on the game day program from the previous day. And so we'll go through those one by one. And every time he hit that name, he would hit me with it, right?
Yeah.
Of course, there are guys that you hope are a scratch because their name is damn near impossible to say. So. Anyway.
Ogbongnamea? Did I get it right? Close?
It started with an O.
All right,
That's
perfect.
good.
That's good. Okay.
Bong Bamida?
Yeah, I remember we had
Very
guys
good.
like
Thank you. So
Yeah.
and it's not even in front of me.
Yeah, that's impressive.
we had a Bonaconda or something way back about 4 years ago. He never made the team, thank goodness.
It's like, oh my goodness, it's really tough.
Yeah.
I don't know because we haven't really started camp, but just from what you've seen and heard, what's your impression of the team so far coming into this year?
I'm not certain, to be honest with you, because I think some other teams have made some adjustments. We've changed general managers at kind of an odd time.
Yeah,
just a touch.
And I don't. Yeah, so I don't know what kind of an impact that's going to make on the squad as a whole. I think bottom line is that most of the core is back.
Yes.
From the previous year, and I think that they're probably not satisfied with how 2016 ended compared to how 2015 ended.
Sure, of course.
And there's enough guys in that room that have Grey Cup rings now that I think that that's what they want to get back to. So that's kind of going to be the focus. And, it's bounces and luck a little bit along the way, too, and hoping that everybody stays healthy. So it's difficult to say. I think they'll be competitive, but I don't think they're going to run over anybody in the first half of the year.
I think the first half of the year is going to be interesting only because of the fact that we have all these other teams that have made adjustments to get better, but all those guys got to learn to play together. And at least here, I think we have the benefit of, like you said, the core is coming back, and they're starting at a little different position because it's the same head coach, it's the same quarterback, it's the same offense, it's the same defensive coordinator. You know what I mean? I think that may actually really help us early in how other teams adapt. It'll be interesting to see as they get better with this other talent that they've signed, but I'm curious to see if that actually plays out that way or not.
Well, to me, it's interesting that on offense, other than receiver, it's the same group that played last year. Right now, we've got Nate Kuhorn's gone, we've lost Darrell Walker, so that'll be interesting to see how they fill those spots. But defense is where it's going to be. It seemed to improve last year. First 6 games was terrible for our defense. The last 6 games we were 5-1, and they seemed to hit their stride. So it'll be interesting. Hopefully, you'll be saying a lot of names for tackles. So knockdowns even better.
Interceptions. I'd like that. Could you do more of those?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
More pick sixes. Yeah.
See, you're making this even better. I love it. Yeah. Odell fumble with JC Sherritt picks it up, touchdown. I like the play where you get to call everything at once.
We'll just call it the Andrew.
That's right. I love it. You can use that too, just so you. I'm just,
okay. Yeah.
Sure.
Sign a release.
There it scores an Andrew. Yeah. I won't even copyright it. It'll be perfectly fine.
Okay.
Yeah. You gave us the "Are you ready" for free. I'm happy to share. Yeah. Okay. We ask everyone that comes in, and this will be very interesting in your perspective because you're attached to the team, but not super directly, just because of the way everything is set up that you've explained. But what does the Eskimo way mean to you?
Well, I've always felt it was a level of professionalism. I always felt like they were one of the franchises that was one of the leaders in the league, and that goes back to before I came to Edmonton, and even before the 5-in-a-row team in the late 70s and the early 80s or what have you. I mean, they had championship teams before that. A lot of classy guys have played for that organization, gone on to do some really great things in the community, right?
Yeah.
And so I've always kind of viewed the Eskimos that way. I know the CFL marketing machine has to work a lot harder than other sports do, but I think the Eskimos have always come to the table with a strong community-based focus, which I think has been great as well. And when I think of the Eskimos quite often, I think about everything else that they do away from the game as well, too. I've always been proud to be a part of the organization, and I hope they feel the same way.
Well, they're still paying you, so that's got to be a good sign.
It's a good first sign. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, on that note, let's just take a really quick break, and then we will come back with this week's Eskimo news.
This is Nate Bahar here.
This is Quick Boating, and listen to
the Eskimo Empire podcast. Let's go, Esks.
Hey guys, do you know there's even more ways to interact with the Empire online? What? That's right. You can find us on Twitter at EskEmpirePod, on Facebook under the Eskimo Empire Podcast group, on Instagram at EskEmpirePod, and you can also follow us on YouTube under our channel, the Eskimo Empire Podcast. Now, I know you guys like that Eskimo history segment, right? Yeah! You can follow more of that information at Esks History on Twitter, and you can find it on This Day in Esks History on Facebook. Don't forget to share, okay?
Yay!
Thanks so much for listening. Let's get back to the show. Patreon, patreon.com/EskEmpirePod. See, I'm trying to stretch it out for you there, Superfan.
That's good. We'll be working on that.
Whatever I can do to help. Of course, thank you to all of you who are patrons, our Hall of Famers, Joe, Jedi, and Hippie. Very much thanks for all of your help in helping out the show. Again, we are almost at that second goal.
Which is great.
And we have a lot of people who are at the higher levels of the patrons. Mm-hmm. And but I think even just the lower levels would be great for any type of help as well.
Yeah.
Just, $1, a couple of dollars a month. And that actually helps when we're putting together our tailgate. As we said on the Periscope, we've now confirmed we will have side-by-side tailgates.
Double spot.
And so we will have the podcast kind of represented at the tailgate. And we'd like to make sure that that's open for everybody to come by. Grab also
a hot dog, grab a burger, whatever.
Man, that costs a few bucks. So any help that you can do with that would be fantastic. And of course, if you can't do that, totally understand. The show is, of course, always on iTunes, always on Google Play. But please subscribe, review, and share the show if you can, because downloads is really helping us as far as getting on top of that iTunes list.
For sure.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to this week's Eskimo news. So not too much on a player front, but one that we've already talked about for you, Al, that might be interesting. First, of course, Andrew Johnson did retire as a wide receiver, but then they signed Ike Igbinosun?
That sounds about right.
Igbinosun?
And again, I'm just glad he's going by Ike.
I'm sure Al is too.
So we swapped out a Johnson for an Igbinosun, so that's got to hurt.
Well, only if I have to say his name, only if he does something in the preseason game. So, and I'm not even going to try to say it right now, so good on you guys for stepping up to the plate.
Thanks to the Eskimos for putting that actually on the page.
We do like to...
Igbinosun.
That's right. We like to... make our best attempt to welcome him to the team. Now, he's a defensive lineman, 6'3", 286. Not too much available as far as getting some history on him, but it'll be interesting to see, again, more American defensive line. Yeah,
well, the Esks have officially now put the numbers for the new guys on there. He'll be wearing 97.
Interesting.
So he'll be in Eddie Steele's old number. So at least if we can't say his name, we can go, let's hear it for old 97.
That's right. Yeah. Excellent.
Hey, if he tackles, it could be the wreck of the old 97. I like it.
Oh, hey,
there we go.
Not bad.
Yeah,
there we go.
All right.
If anyone knows any old Hank Snow tunes, I guess.
Now, Football 101 is returning. It is back on July 25th. You can, of course, register at esks.com. And we did 101, 201, and 301 last year.
Yeah. Now, is this one the women only, or is this the co-ed?
No, this is co-ed from what I can tell. And it is actually, this is the very basic one.
Yeah. First, it's a lot of fun. We did it last year. 101 is sort of introducing you to some more of the football concept. So this is what a defensive lineman does. This is This is the object of the game, or the object of the offense and the defense and everything else. But still, it's just a lot of fun. You get to hang out with a lot of people that are interested in learning football, and the teachers are great. And of course, and friends of the show, Jed and Glenn. Now, I would, even if you are a seasoned football fan, I would recommend going to this, even just for the referee talk. Yeah, because Bud is usually there to do the referee talk, and it's amazing, and he's hilarious, and I really, really enjoyed that part of it. I think we will try and get to 201 and 301 again this year. Just because 201 was amazing with Jason Moss coming in last year. And, for those that haven't gone before, though, you're not allowed to go to 201 unless you've done 101. So if you are thinking of going to the more advanced ones, you do have to start with 101 first. Exactly. Have you ever done any of the 101s or anything like that, Al? You've shamed me. No, I haven't. Well, it was our first time last year, so exactly. Yeah, we've been fans a long time. It was first year last year, so it's all good. Now, most importantly, in our Esks news, the training camp dates and times were announced, and they are up on the site. So Sunday and Monday are 9:20 in the morning until noon at Commonwealth. Then the two-a-days start on Tuesday, Wednesday. Of course, the mock game is on Friday for
from 2:30 till 4:30. Did they rope you in for that yet? That'd be really. Oh, that would have been.
They never have.
That would be great. Could you imagine?
Oh, how
at a
many
mock
names you
game?
gotta learn?
That'd be so much fun. That'd be a riot.
I'd just be giving
the
up and be
names
like-
would be a disaster for you.
I just give numbers.
Yeah.
Tackled by number 47.
Exactly. Thrown by some guy, and another guy caught it, and he scored. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, exactly.
Let's put 6 points up. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And somebody get me another beer.
Now that call would be fantastic. That would be very good. No, it is 2:30 till 4:30 on the Friday afternoon, and I think we've kind of determined that was just because they're having the fan day on the Saturday and the afternoon as well.
Which they did last year.
They need to kind of, but I know the guys were super bagged after having the two of them, and then they ended up having to break away from a two-a-day last year. So I think this is just trying to space that out properly. So fan day is on June 3rd at Commonwealth this year, which is definitely different. You're going to be down more field level, and they're going to, of course, have the autograph session there too.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, it was at Clark last year. Year before, we were at Spruce Grove. So
yeah, gates will open at 1 o'clock for that, and I think it goes until 4.
Yes, 1 to 4.
Yes, exactly. Do you usually make it out to fan day?
No.
Okay, fair enough. It's different. You only get paid on certain ones. I get how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there was one year they asked me to do it, but I think it was because somebody else wasn't available.
Okay.
To do the announcing or something like that, so I was their second choice. if I remember correctly, and that goes back a number of years. But typically speaking, that's usually handled by the Eskimo staff and that kind of thing. They don't really get the game day people involved in that too much.
Right.
Oh, okay.
If they asked, if it was open on my schedule, I'd be happy to go. But normally they haven't. And
do you ever get a chance to meet with fans at all? Because for me, I obviously had never met you before until this evening, but it was interesting to put a face to the voice and be able to get to ask you some of these questions. And I'm just wondering if other fans ever get a chance to come up and say, hey, do you what is it you like doing about this, or those type of things?
Not that often. Most people don't know that that's what I do, and then when I describe what I do, they go, oh, you're the high school football guy.
Yeah.
So that's how they relate that, which is fine.
So you need a shirt that says that.
Yeah.
That just sounds creepy.
I'm the high school football guy.
Yeah, really creepy.
Can we get shirts that say I'm with high school football guy with the arrows? That would be great. Oh, no, okay. Yeah.
Over the past couple of years on Twitter, actually, a bunch of fans have started to follow me, and so a dialogue has developed that way. So I'm meeting fans in that sense. Yeah. Not very many people come and wave at the window, and I think most don't even know where I am in the stadium, which is okay. Except for there's a doctor out there who keeps insisting that I'm in the speaker cluster
really?
above the field. He thinks that's where I do my job.
How does he think you get there?
He doesn't care. So, and it's tongue in cheek, but he's actually posted pictures on Twitter that's my office at Commonwealth Stadium. So, Jonathan Lewicki, I think is his name.
That's Jonathan Luke.
There you
I
go.
know exactly who that is.
Yeah. Anyway, so
awesome.
I've got a kick out of those.
Yeah.
But the only time I've ever really been able to interact with fans during a game, we did the Fort McMurray game a couple years ago.
Of course, right. Yeah.
And there was no booth.
Oh, of course. So
they had a tent set up at the top of the stands, and that wasn't really all that practical. So what we ended up doing was we ended up sitting basically in the top row.
Wow.
So I'd call a play, and then I'd talk to the fans around me and stuff, and we'd comment on this and that. And that was a hoot. I'd love to do more of that,
That'd
actually.
Be fun.
So give me a wireless mic and sit me right in your section someplace.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That wasn't the best game, I'm sure, for a lot of us, since that was when Mike Riley got hurt. But But at least the preseason was a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the interaction in between plays would be a riot, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was great.
That'd be a ton of fun. Awesome. Well, like I said, fan date, June 3rd. Let's get to our CFL news. So, out of Ticat land, Fan 2 is taking on a player development role with the Ticats.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, a lot of people are wondering, is that their way of circumventing some of the cap hit?
Yeah, and I don't think it actually works that way. But I don't. Is he actually going to play again?
Oh yeah, he'll play again, but it's probably not going to be until after Labor Day.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's not like this is unprecedented. The Argos did it a couple of years ago.
Oh, Chad Cackers.
Yeah. So it's not that particular position, but it's interesting anyway. But it's at least, you know what, I'm glad to see. Fan 2s is one of those solid players in the league,
Yeah.
a really talented guy. So I'm glad to see him still in the league.
Yes, absolutely. It's also out of Catland, they released Cassius Vaughn, and then, of course, he signed with the Argos right away.
Right.
And then the Cats also released Spencer Watt. Now, that kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's cap related.
Could be, but I'm wondering also if that means that, and they talked about this on Podski Wee Wee last week,
Right.
that they might be going a 5 American receiver set,
Wow.
which would be very interesting out of Hamilton.
No kidding.
Yeah. Could you imagine? Wow. That's some deep talent in other
Yeah.
spots, that's for sure. So that could be very interesting. Now, our latest news that we just came out today.
Breaking news.
The Riders are having problems signing their top 2 draft picks. Now, does this
Deja
seem like
vu
deja
all
vu
over
to you?
again.
Exactly. Does this sound awfully familiar at all? The only comment I want to put in there is that other teams have announced they have signed all of their guys. I mean, Calgary has signed 7 of them, but they haven't signed their top pick.
Yep.
Alouettes have signed all of their guys.
Yep.
I know that I believe then it was Winnipeg that signed almost all of their
Yeah, well,
picks.
they're famously signed the number 1 pick.
And of course,
so.
the number 1 pick was already signed. Now, we haven't really heard specific signings with the Eskimos, but we do know that a couple of the guys are definitely coming to camp. So
Right.
you'd have to assume that they would have been signed.
Well, as you've been saying, like they're not coming to camp if they're not signed. So the
Right.
fact that we are going to see them in camp and we're coming up in a couple of days.
Yeah.
So it just probably hasn't been announced, but hopefully, I mean, at least we have some of the people we know from those 22 signings that we had last week. But
Yes. Now, does this surprise you at all that the Riders are having the same problem?
No,
Okay.
not really.
Yeah. Do you drink green Kool-Aid?
No, I
Okay,
don't
good.
drink
Okay.
green Kool-Aid.
Sweet.
There are a number of acquaintances of mine who do, and we're not really friends during the football season. But I think we know the fellow that runs that organization over there is
Yeah.
some plays a little fast and a little loose with how things are supposed to be done, and on the one hand, you can say it violates the spirit of the game, but on the other hand, you can say, look, if they're looking for any advantage to try to make their football team better without having to do what everybody else does, then why not? I mean, I go back to the NHL had to change a rule because Roger Nielsen used to make his goaltenders leave their goal sticks in the crease when he pulled the goalie.
right.
Right.
And he was doing it to try to prevent empty net goals. Clever, but they changed the rule book so that he couldn't do that anymore, right? So those kinds of things happen.
It's been going on for the beginning of time.
Yeah.
I mean, Tony Esposito he put a net between his legs because in the 60s, that way they couldn't score 5 goals as easy. So I guess they say if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right?
Yeah. Well, it's just the hardest part for me is that it shouldn't be this hard because these guys want to play. Like of course they wanted to play professional football. That's why they got to where they are and they're getting drafted and all these types of things. And you've got a team who has some needs for Canadian players.
Yeah.
Like I'm just surprised it shouldn't be that hard. And I can see kind of both sides. You got to prove something before you get paid big money. On the other hand, you drafted me high, so
Yeah, to me, it's like we already have the price set for the number 1 guy.
Mm-hmm.
They paid Josiah St. John last year. Winnipeg paid their guy this year, so you kind of know the ballpark it's in. So you should have at least a general number. Plus, how much did they pay in fines last year? You just don't pay those. Don't break the rules and have to pay fines, and you could throw it into your player.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, the one thing we don't know is what's actually going on in the negotiation table.
for
Right?
sure.
I mean, it seems to be fairly cut and dried because
It could
these
be
guys
not even a number, right?
Yeah.
These guys haven't proved themselves yet, but for one reason or another, they haven't, signed the contract. And most of the stuff usually gets worked out in a few days anyway. And typically it's either it was never an issue or they end up on the suspended list. So
Yeah,
that's right.
I guess we'll know by next week.
Yeah, exactly. This is very true. Yeah. It's very true.
Someone that was let go from Riderland, which I thought was a bit of a surprise, was Carm Carteri.
Oh, yes. That just came out today as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
A bit of a shock. I mean, this is a guy that definitely said he wanted to do at least the first year in the new stadium. Mm-hmm. It's kind of disappointing. I know they're replacing him with Millender.
Luke Mullender, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's too bad because he's the voice for 28 years of the Riders, really.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and him and Rod obviously worked together for a number of years, so you would think that would have continued, but new stadium, new look, I guess.
I guess so.
Yeah, exactly. Last bit of CFL news. So the NFL and CFL officials deal was extended for 17 and expanded a bit. So 6 NFL refs, so that's up from 4, will be here for preseason and the start of the regular season. And then 6 CFL refs, so that's up from 3, will be going down to the NFL camps and their preseason down there. So
yeah, I mean, to me, that can only just be a good thing for both leagues.
Well, the other part is at the beginning of the season, it'll probably prove for some comedy for us, because I remember last year the
throwing
the flag, and then the head ref comes over and goes, "Yeah, that's not a penalty up here.
That's legal." But I mean, when Bud Steen was on our show, he talked about how it's almost muscle memory.
Yeah, exactly.
You just go on instinct. Someone did this, the flag goes up, and then you talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be a little fun.
I would wonder what the NFL guys would get out of it.
Well, it's more just reffing more games, and also they're looking
new rules are looking at
different new rules that they're trying to decide that they're going to apply them down in the NFL.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right. Okay. I think also too, there's that little bit of justification of, okay, well, it's not like it's easy to call a pro game whether you're in the CFL or the NFL. I think that is starting to kind of prove that point, that these guys are still running at a big speed, wider field, harder to keep track of everybody, and can you call that play, right? So, and I think between the two leagues, which this is going to sound funny when I say it, they're trying to figure out exactly what is pass interference. Yeah, it's got to be that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that is our news for this week, and that is actually our show. We didn't have all the history this week, so
keep wanting more.
Exactly. So, Al, thank you for coming down and being a part of the show. Now, I know you play guitar and all those other types of things as well. So, tell us a little bit what you do in your spare time, and kind of where does everybody find you online and all those types of things.
Well, I don't have a lot of spare time, actually. So
wow.
I have,
nice.
That's probably not a bad thing.
I read news in the morning on Up 99.3 FM.
Yes.
And then I manage St. John's Music. That's a Monday to Friday job. That's a full-time job.
Yeah.
In addition to my football PA announcing, I also work for the Edmonton Oil Kings and do their games over at Rogers Place as well. So that keeps me busy. And trying to get another band going right now.
Nice.
In fact, we had another rehearsal this afternoon. And that's kind of coming along. And
got a name yet? Or?
No, as a matter of fact, we don't have a name yet.
It's the toughest one I've always found, just finding the good name.
Yeah. We've messed with a whole bunch of things, and I'm not quite sure that we're there just yet. But, it's mostly a bunch of guys who just like to play music.
Yeah.
And, you get together on the weekend and that kind of thing. And, this sounds pretty good. Maybe we should play it in front of some other people. So we're getting close to that stage now. But
very exciting.
It's a great hobby, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Make sure you let us know, and we'll
come check it out.
Check it out and make sure that we put that out there.
Absolutely.
And so where does everybody find you on Twitter and all those types of things?
Yeah, of course. Twitter, my Twitter account is Al Stafford 49.
Perfect.
So that's the best way to find me.
Exactly. And obviously you interact with people, because otherwise you wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. Superfan, or does everybody find you?
They find me at 56 Parkies, and then they find the history account at Esks History.
Awesome. And you can find me, of course, at Esk Empire Pod or at Free Policious. So, reminder again that this Friday, so if you're listening to this as the show comes out, you've only got a couple of days, the Westivus kickoff, May 26th at 6 p.m. at First Round Downtown. That's 112th Street and 104th Avenue. Of course, Superfan and I will be there. The T-shirts will be there. The stickers will be there. We're going to sit down and have some chats as far as football is concerned. Maybe record a few people on what they think of, what they're excited about for the upcoming season. And of course, we'll be back next week. We'll be having Paul Reckner will be back in, and of course, we will be finding out who will be the inaugural recipient of the Jimmy Gaines Award.
Jimmy Gaines.
So it's very exciting to have that. Now, is it time to see our guys back on the field? Absolutely. For Al and Superfan Mike, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you next week, or Friday, hopefully, or possibly Sunday. Anyway, that's another one into the end zone for
High
school football.